Now we will see what is the motivation for using currency swap or objectives of using currency swap. Similar to the objectives of interest rate swaps or coupon swaps, currency swaps are also mainly used for hedging purposes only and for reducing interest and currency costs, or you can say borrowing cost. Now I need not explain you with an example how hedging is done, that we have already explained in the last class how an Indian firm was trying to take a loan from a Japanese lender in yen currency and to finance an equipment to start production and export to US and earn income in dollars, and using the dollars to repay the loan to the Japanese lender with the help of a swap agreement. Now we have seen how with the help of swap the exchange of principal, exchange of interest and re-exchange of principal was done at the termination of loan. Now we will see the second type of objective, that how this currency swap helps to reduce the interest and currency cost. Now one thing you have to understand that currency swaps can be done when two companies of similar interest comes into the swap market and wants to borrow in respective currencies. Now what is currency swap? How currency swap helps to reduce borrowing cost? That we will see with the help of an example. Now usually when one company wants to borrow loan in one currency market, it may not have enough credit worthiness, but it has credit worthiness to ask the same loan in that currency in another market. Same way, in that market maybe there was a person, there may be a company which wants loan in that market, couldn't get, but it has a comparative advantage to borrow in that market where the first company the first company which I mentioned had the wish to borrow the currency, had the wish to borrow the loan in that currency. So what I was saying is, in this example there are two companies. One company wants to borrow from market A, but it cannot borrow, it can only borrow from market B. Another company, it wants to borrow from market B, but it cannot, only it can borrow from market A. Then it will be better that both companies use their comparative advantage, that take opportunity of this advantage and then borrow from such market and use the swap agreement to exchange their interest obligations. Now if this is done, this reduces the cost of borrowing. I'll explain you this with an example. Okay, now here let us assume there are two companies X and Y who wants to borrow foreign currency loans. Now say currency X wants to borrow pound sterling, okay, whereas currency Y decides to borrow US dollar. Now what happens is, when it goes to the market, it has the it gets the interest rates from both this currency market in such a way. If company X borrows from US dollars market, it has to pay only 7%. If it borrows from pound sterling market, that is Britain market, it has to pay 10.6 percentage. But company X needs to pay less interest if it takes loan from US dollar market, but it prefers to take loan from pound sterling. On the opposite side, same way, company Y, it it has the chance of getting loan in US dollars and pound sterling. In US dollars market, it has to if it gets loan at the rate of 9%, and in pound sterling, if it gets loan, it will get 11%. But it can get loan only in the pound sterling market. It cannot get in company. It cannot get in US dollar market. So company X wants to get loan in pound sterling market. Company Y wants to get loan in US dollar market, but it cannot. Company X will borrow from US dollars market. Company Y will borrow from pound sterling market and use the swap again. Why is company X doing this? Because if you check the the two companies interest rate quotation in dollars market, company X interest line loans will be given at 7%. Company Y, it will be getting loans at the rate of, so company Y is paying 2% extra more interest rate than company X. In pound sterling market, you see company X will get loan at 10.6 percentage and company Y will get loan at 11 percentage. So company Y is paying only 0.4 percentage extra. So in all terms, if you say, it will be good that company X takes loan from US dollar market and company Y takes loan from pound sterling market, despite both parties have a strong preference of taking loan from opposite markets. Now let the both companies take loan in such a way. Now what will happen? I'm telling you, there is actually a comparative advantage. If company X takes loan from US dollar, company Y takes loan from pound sterling and use the swap agreement and exchange their loan, they can make a profit. How that works, that I'll explain you with here in the next slide. Now imagine if company X had taken loan from pound sterling, it would have paid interest at 10.6 percentage, and if company Y had taken from US dollar, it would have paid 9%. So total cost of borrowing by both companies by taking directly from the market will be 19.6. Now what happened when both companies used the swap currencies and borrowed in different markets? Company X borrowed from dollar market, company Y borrowed from pound sterling, and both are totally paying together 18%. Now you see the difference between the first one and the second one. In the case of first one, if they had borrowed from their preferred market, they would have paid more interest, 19.6%. Now they borrowed interest from the comparative advantage market and used the swap currency. So how much you see, cost reduction has come down to 1.6 percentage. Now this 1.6 percentage, that cost reduction they can share between these two companies X and Y. So from 10.6, okay, let us minus that 0.8. Now 1.6 percentage will share this cost reduction between two companies X and Y. So 10.6 minus 0.8 will come to 9.8, and 9% minus 0.8 will come to 8.2 percentage. Now we'll see how this is going to work. So here company X that has taken dollar loan from the lender at 7%. Now imagine there is an intermediary between company X and Y that has made a swap agreement. So company X will agree to pay the loan of company Y, that is sterling loan, that has been taken by company Y from the lender, and company Y will pay off the dollar loan of company X through the intermediary. Now how this is going to work, let us see. See, company Y will pay dollar loan at the rate of 8.2% to the intermediary, and from that 8.2 the intermediary will pay some percent to company X, which it will be giving to its lender. Now company X has to fulfill the responsibility of paying interest loan of company Y to the company Y's lender. So company X will pay 9.8%, and the intermediary will pay company X will pay interest rate in sterling 9.8 to intermediary, and intermediary will transfer 11% interest payments at sterling currency to company Y, which it will be used to pay off its interest loans to lender. So now here, if you see, company Y is paying dollar 8.2% interest loan to intermediary, out of which 7% is only paid to company X. So here the intermediary is receiving excess interest of 1.2%, and when company X is paying the interest loan of the sterling currency, it is paying 9.8%, and the same intermediary is paying the sterling currency interest rates at the rate of 11%, so 1.2% extra. So here what is happening is, here that excess interest receipts that we used to pay off the excess interest that has to be paid by the intermediary. So this is how the interest is exchanged in a currency swap, and both companies can reduce their borrowing cost. Now here, if you want to make a profit to the intermediary, then we can do one thing also. We can share the cost reduction among three parties. Now earlier when we saw, it was 0.8 sharing between the parties. Now let us do one thing. Let us share like this: 0.6 among X and Y each, and so it comes to 1.2, and the balance 0.4% let us share it between financial intermediary. So it will come to like this. So 10.6 minus 0.6 will comes to 10%, and 9% minus 0.6% 60 will be equal to 8.4. so that will be the net cost of borrowing between two parties. So let us see that if intermediary wants to make a profit. Okay, so here the cost reduction is shared among three parties. So you can see here company Y will pay 8.4% to intermediary, out of which intermediary pays 7.4% to company X. So the company X pays off its lender. Now company X will pay off 10% interest in sterling to the intermediary, out of which the intermediary will pay 11% to company Y, because company Y has to pay its loan in sterling to its own respective lender. Now here first company Y paid interest in dollars at the rate of 8.5% to intermediary, and intermediary paid 7% out of which to company X. So here excess interest received is 1.4%. On the other side, when company X is paying interest in sterling to the intermediary, it is paying only 10%, and intermediary pays 11% to company Y. So excess interest paid by intermediary is 1%. So if you say already the intermediary has received excess interest 1.5 percentage and it is paying excess interest 1% out of this is our swap deal. So here the intermediary is making a profit of point 40. Sorry, let me debate it here. So in this way the three parties to the contract subcontract are making comparative advantage or are making profits through this swap deal. Now here you have to understand the interest payments in two currencies exchange between the counterparties in a currency swap usually have different interest rates depending upon fixed respect. So both parties that means you have to understand both parties have taken these loans on fixed interest rates and the counterparties agree to exchange their interest payments throughout the loan period. So we can call this as fixed to fixed currency swap. Okay, if these two loans were different, then we come to the case of the third type of swap, that is cross currency coupon swap. It is nothing but combination of currency swap and interest rate swap. Now all the time what we were explaining in examples of currency swap is that the counterparties exchange their interest payments at the respective rates, because we were assuming always in that both parties had taken fixed interest rate loans and exchanging their fixed rate liability. But if both parties are having different interest rate loans, that means one party has taken loan at fixed interest rate in one currency and another party has taken floating interest rate loan at another currency and want to exchange their interest rates, wants to swap their interest rates liabilities. Such swap we call it as cross currency coupon swap or fixed to floating currency swap. So that is why I told you it's a combination of currency swap and interest rate swaps. So like this way we have come to the end of this types of swaps.